So the playoff picture in the college football gets a little bit more defined, and a new team takes number one in the NFC. All that coming up. Let's talk football. All right, welcome to Let's Talk Football. I'm your host, John Behrens.
And I'm Joshua Perkins.
Okay, so the playoff picture in college seems to be getting a little more defined.
Yeah, more teams creating separation this past weekend as far as the college football playoff is concerned.
Namely Alabama.
Mainly. And also Georgia locking up the East with their emphatic win over Kentucky 34-17. Michigan with another game proving why they deserve to be in the big dog conversation. And also another top 25 upset as Purdue upsets Iowa this weekend 38-36.
So that kind of puts Northwestern in the driver's seat, doesn't it?
Well, Northwestern lost against Notre Dame this past weekend, but I mean that wasn't a conference game.
It's not a conference
But
game.
Northwestern is more in the driver's seat as far as the Big Ten is concerned. I mean, I don't see them winning the Big Ten, but I mean, I do see them giving some teams a run for their money.
It's kind of fun to see someone new in the picture, really. I didn't expect them to beat Notre Dame, though they did play them pretty close. Notre Dame did not really pull it out until, I want to say, late fourth quarter.
I mean, well, that just shows how resilient Notre Dame is, behind the quarterback Ian Book, who has pretty much resurrected that offense behind Coach Brian Kelly.
Yeah, and Notre Dame also still has another challenge coming up in Syracuse. Syracuse is playing better than most people expected them to do.
Syracuse has really just came out the woodworks. They pretty much just came out of nowhere in the ACC. I mean, those guys are looking pretty good this season.
And what about Iowa State? Iowa State's coming out and making big upsets and actually competing in the Big 12. I don't think they're in contention at this point, but, I mean, they did beat West Virginia.
But, I mean, that's a team to watch out for. I mean, if not this season, definitely next season. Definitely next season is a team like Iowa State could be a team that can probably compete for the Big 12. I mean, I'm not trying to speak anything into existence, but I feel that Iowa State could be a team to look out for.
And then, kind of somewhat surprisingly, Auburn actually went in. Were they at College Station, or was it at Jordan?
No, it was in Jordan Hare.
Jordan Hare? Okay. But still, Auburn beat A&M.
It really wasn't surprising to me because, I mean, Texas A&M, they have struggled lately, and Auburn, they were trying to make that statement win to kind of validate themselves as a team that could still, compete. And so it wasn't a shock to me that Auburn won. I mean, first off, Jordan Hare Stadium is a tough place to go play. It's a highly feared stadium. And two, I mean, Auburn, they needed a win to change their season around. They needed a win to, pretty much turn their fortunes around. And so that was the win they definitely needed. I mean, not just as a team, but a win for their school.
Yeah. And another game that I thought was kind of exciting to watch was West Virginia, Texas, when West Virginia was able to pull out the last-second touchdown against the Longhorns.
And it just goes to show you that Dana Holgorsen had no interest in overtime as he went for two at the end, which was very aggressive going against a very tough Texas team. But, I mean, I don't see a Big 12 team making the 14 playoff this season. I mean, there is no defense involved.
I don't either, but at the same time, the Big 12 race now just got more interesting with, West Virginia beating Texas and Texas beating Oklahoma.
I mean, Oklahoma only has one loss in the Big 12, while Texas, I mean, they lost to Oklahoma State and they've lost to West Virginia. And so it kind of opens things up for Oklahoma and gives Oklahoma a chance to probably make that top 4.
I see Oklahoma as being the only hope that the Big 12 has to make the playoffs.
And out of the Pac-12, their best hope is Washington State.
Which Washington State won again this past weekend.
But it was more of an uncharacteristic offensive performance against California, as they only won 19-13. And so it's just, I mean, if I'm a team like Alabama, I mean, I really wouldn't take, Big 12 and Pac-12 seriously until there can be some consistency on both sides of the ball, something that Alabama's been producing all season.
Yeah. So, with Kentucky and let's just say it, LSU losing, wow, what is kind of the goal for both teams from this point on?
You're asking what are the goals for both LSU and Kentucky? I can say both the goals for both teams is to win out and to basically just build, learn from your mistakes, build on it and you win out. I mean, LSU, they're ranked 9th in the polls, and LSU still somewhat control their destiny for maybe a playoff berth. I mean, it's a distant thought. I mean, LSU had to win out and then get some help from the teams in front of them. But, I mean, I feel that a successful season would be LSU to win out, go to New Year's 6, win that game. They finished 11-2. And considering how LSU started off and considering the offseason they had, losing the players that were projected to be top dogs going into the season, and have low expectations for you from analysts and then low expectations from the critics and from the naysayers, I mean, I would consider it a successful season for the Tigers.
Yeah, no. The SEC Championship is going to be a rematch of last year's national title game between Georgia and Alabama. Really no surprise.
I mean, it's not a surprise. I mean, I kind of saw it coming in the beginning of the season. I'm just like, well, Alabama has a much stronger team. I don't see Auburn beating Alabama this season. I don't see anybody getting lucky against Alabama this season. And I just kind of had a strong feeling in my gut it's going to be a rematch, Georgia and Alabama. And so, I mean, pretty much the winner goes to the 14 playoff, and the loser is going to go to a New Year's 6. Unless you're Alabama. I mean, Alabama could probably lose the SEC championship game, but would probably remain in the top 4.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
No question about it. What happened last year? Well, no, they lost to Auburn last year, but still got in. And still won the championship.
Well, that's because Auburn lost to Georgia. Well, yeah. Auburn lost to Georgia.
Yeah. So, do we have any? Let's see. Let's take a look. What is it? Because I know we got some pretty big games coming up towards the end of the season, but I don't know about this upcoming week. Let's take a look at the schedule. I don't see any really big matchups.
Well, Oklahoma has a big game in Bedlam as they go against Oklahoma State, which is the Bedlam game, in which in those type of games anything can happen. I mean, it can go either way.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. There is Texas versus Texas Tech. That's always a good game.
That can be a trap game for Texas.
That can be.
I mean, you look at Texas Tech, they nearly defeated Oklahoma this past weekend. And just with Big 12, I don't think I could take the Big 12 seriously due to the simple fact there's barely any defense.
Yeah.
There's not any defense.
No, there's not. Let's see. Washington State plays Colorado. Colorado had gotten off to a pretty solid start and then seemingly just faded away the last few weeks.
Well, Washington State, they have a chance to really keep the momentum going. I mean, I don't see the committee letting another Pac-12 team in. I mean, that's why Washington State is going to take some help for them to get in. Because the 14 playoff is strictly off the committee's discretion. The committee decides, I mean, the committee could take somebody that's in the bottom of the top 10 and just put them at number 4 like it's nothing. I mean, it's all about how they feel and who they want to see in the 14 playoff. I mean, I'm coming up with conspiracy theories, and I'm just telling you, watch this. If Georgia beats Alabama in the SEC championship game, the committee is going to keep Alabama in the top 4. So if Georgia wins to the rest of the teams in the 14 playoff, I'm just letting you know, one of y'all might have to go against Alabama. Just saying.
Yeah, Mississippi State plays Alabama. They'll be in Tuscaloosa. I don't expect much of a challenge there. I think the Crimson Tide are going to continue to
dominate.
Yeah. As much as most people outside Alabama hate to see another Alabama championship, outside of maybe Clemson or perhaps Michigan, I don't see it happening.
I mean, Clemson and Michigan are the two teams that I feel have a better chance at beating Alabama due to the simple fact those two teams got dominant defenses as well. Michigan has a suffocating defense. They held a Penn State offense led by Trace McSorley, who's one of the more elite quarterbacks in the nation, to only 7 points, in their matchup this past weekend. And so it just goes to show you how dominant that Michigan defense is and how much they've gotten on the same page behind Jim Harbaugh. Yeah. Michigan just got one little piece of business, that's to defeat Ohio State in the big game at the end of the season.
And that's in Michigan, isn't it?
I think it's going to be at the Horseshoe. I think.
So Ohio State?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. It's going to be a good game regardless.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a war. It's going to be a throwdown.
All right. So, are we kind of in agreement that Bama gets in regardless, unless they surprisingly lose one? It's probably going to be Clemson. My pick would be Michigan. And then Notre Dame, unless they surprisingly lose one.
At this point, you can't really tell. I mean, Alabama, they got the number 1 spot locked in. I really wouldn't put the 4 teams set in stone. I mean, of course, my top 4 so far would be Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Michigan. Those are my top 4 right now.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's going to come down to who the committee wants in there, because they seem to change their mind every year on at least 1 or 2 teams.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, Georgia, I feel that their only chance of getting into the top 4 will be beating Alabama in the SEC championship game. That is the only way to do it. And Georgia's looking for retribution from last year's national championship game, and it's going to be held in the same place where Georgia lost it all. And so Georgia's going to definitely this is a game for Georgia to really try to conquer their demons. And they're going against the same quarterback who defeated them, which is Tua Tagovailoa. So this is a chance for Georgia to really find retribution and to conquer their demons in this one.
It's been a mostly good season so far, and I hate to see this actually starting to wind down now, but now we're getting down the stretch, and the playoffs are right around the corner.
I mean, it's going by fast. Like, where the year is going, we don't know.
All right, NFL. I don't know. It's like I'm still just. It's anybody's game in most cases.
It's like the movie Any Given Sunday. Anything happens, and
About the only thing that can really conclude right now is that Buffalo's offense is just horrible.
Nathan Peterman, you can't pay him to throw a touchdown. And I thought Jared Lee from LSU was a interception machine. No, Nathan Peterman is just absolutely alarming as an interception thrower.
Not just that, but your defense only gives up 192 yards total offense to your opponent, and you still surrender 42 points.
Yeah, and I saw the stats from that game. And there wasn't a whole lot of offense on the Bears side. The Bears only had 190 yards of total offense, but put up 41 points. But here's the difference. Chicago made Buffalo cough the ball up 4 times.
Turnovers.
Buffalo had 22 first downs. They had the ball for 34 minutes and 3 seconds. They controlled the clock. It's just, Buffalo they weren't able to hang on to the ball. Nathan Peterman, 3 interceptions. Mitch Trubisky was 12 for 20, 135 yards, a touchdown, and a pick.
Yeah. Wow. I just shockingly bad how bad Buffalo's offense is.
No.
And it wasn't that great last year either, but it seemed like at least they had a game manager in Tyro Taylor.
I mean, yeah, Tyra was a lot better at quarterback. I mean, he was like you said, he was more of a game situation type guy. But not as bad as how Oakland's doing this season. I mean, they got obliterated by San Francisco last Thursday. And going to the game, I'm just like, who the hell is Nick Mullins? Who's Nick Mullins? So I did a little research. He used to be a starting quarterback for the Southern Miss Golden Eagles out there in the Conference USA. He made the 53-man roster after the preseason. He was a third string behind one Jimmy Garoppolo and two C.J. Beathard. And C.J. Beathard, Jimmy Garoppolo's out for the season. C.J. Beathard battling injuries, so they keep him on the bench. They kept Beathard as a backup. And they bring in Nick Mullins, who was 16 of 22, 262 yards, and 3 touchdowns in an amazing first start. I mean, that's how you kick off your career.
It was a pretty impressive start for Mullins. I also I recognized the name, but I didn't know from where. It was just like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of recognize it, but I mean, I didn't know where he came from, so I did a little research, and he comes from Southern Miss.
Not many NFL players do.
I know one that did, Brett Favre.
Well, yeah, but you have to go.
So he's in good company.
I mean, you have to go back to, 1993, 92, something like that? No?
But still, I mean, it really doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter how you start, how you finish,
No. Have the Raiders given up? Are they really aiming for the number 1 pick at this point?
I think they are. I mean, no, that they're last time I heard they were set to release Bruce Irvin, who was pretty much their top defender. And it's basically, I don't know why the Raiders, they're just basically, this is the wrong time to dismantle your team. I can see if you're doing all this dismantling during the offseason and you're making acquisitions to replace, not during a season, which is probably one of the most critical times. It just shocked me how much John Gruden's just dismantling that team. But I do feel that he's on the verge of trying to create a rebuild in that franchise. Also considering the fact that the Raiders are moving to Vegas next season. And so it's like they want to bring in a totally new era led by, Derek Carr and John Gruden.
I guess here's to better luck in Vegas.
May the odds be in your favor. Good luck to you, Raiders. That's what the people who run the tables tell me. Good luck to you.
So, Chiefs are continuing to win. Of course, then they did play the incompetent Browns. At
first it looked promising. Now it's just a mess. It's a mess.
I do have to say, Baker Mayfield does look like, if developed properly, he could be the first franchise quarterback the Browns have had since they were, before moving to Baltimore.
True. I mean, Baker Mayfield, he's putting up good stats every game. It's just the Browns they can't put it together like they're supposed to. I mean, you look at Baker Mayfield's stats. He was 29 of 42, 297 yards, 2 TDs, and a pick. Baker Mayfield, he's playing good games. It's just they're not able to put it together.
So who do you think that Cleveland should go after now that they have entire, 4-month start on finding a new coach on anyone else who ends up firing theirs?
I think a guy to look at for as far as head coaches are concerned is, I would say a good contender would be Bruce Arians, former coach of the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, you're looking at a guy who took over for Chuck Pagano while he was dealing with cancer, and Indianapolis still had a pretty good season. He went to Arizona, led the Cardinals to an AFC Championship appearance. I mean, you're talking about a guy who knows the game like the back of his hand. You're talking about a guy who is a technician as far as coaching is concerned. If you don't want to go on a pro level, I would say probably look on the college level. Try to look at some guys who wants to make a step up.
So one of the things that I'm kind of noticing right now is it seems like this year, as opposed to years in past, rookie quarterbacks are having kind of a bit of a more or less painful first season.
Like Sam Darnold, who threw 4 picks this past Sunday against Miami.
You know, and Josh Allen, we just talked about Buffalo's offense.
Well, I mean, Coach McDermott don't know who he wants at quarterback. You had Josh Allen. All right, so he gets hurt. Then you put in, first you had Nathan Peterman. He just completely stinks. Then you put in Josh Allen. He gets hurt. Then you put in Derek Anderson. He doesn't do any better. Now you got back in Nathan Peterman thinking you're going to get the same result. Basically, this Bills offense is being ran on insanity. The act of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah. So there's been a few teams that people have been kind of coming in on, as far as like, are these teams coming along? Could they challenge down the road? Like the Seahawks, for one. And who is that? Oh, yeah, the Redskins and even Dallas. All three of those teams lost yesterday, really. Do you really think that these teams are as contenders as people think they are?
They're not. I mean, you look at the Redskins. I feel that they are going in the right direction. I mean, they did that to kind of take a step back this Sunday against Atlanta. I mean, if you look at the Seahawks, they're just trying to rebuild. The Cowboys, definitely not a contender. And all right, I've never been a Cowboys fan, and I'm not saying this because I'm not a Cowboys fan. I'm saying it because it's fact. I mean, looking at the Cowboys team, they couldn't get any offense together. Defense can't stay healthy. I mean, they bring in Amari Cooper, but, I mean, with the type of quarterback you have at Dak Prescott, I mean, I'm not going to lie, Dak Prescott can play, but Dak Prescott has many holes in his game. Yeah, you got Amari Cooper, but you got to also rely on accurate play from your quarterback, Dak Prescott. So if he's not able to produce, what makes you think you can get production out of Amari Cooper?
Right. So the other game that was built up this coming into this weekend was Brady versus Rodgers.
Who's the GOAT? Who's the GOAT? Who's the GOAT?
Talk about a disappointment.
Who's the GOAT? I'll go with neither one of them. The GOAT is actually in New Orleans, and you want to talk about Drew? After the Patriots won against the Packers, they want to talk about that Brady showed why he is the NFL's GOAT. Oh my gosh, 22 of 35, 294 yards and a touchdown. Oh my gosh, GOAT performance. Newsflash: the GOAT actually it was actually 25 of 36, threw for 346 yards. I want to say 346 yards and 4 touchdowns in their win against the only remaining undefeated team. The former undefeated team, the LA Rams, who was 8-0 and handed them their first loss. So if you want to talk about GOAT, who's the GOAT, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady? I'll take Drew Brees. Thanks for asking. And John will take Drew Brees too. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
That's my rant.
And this is okay. So the Steelers beat the Ravens to kind of take a solid foothold in that division. Although at this, the Ravens have now lost, I want to say 3 straight.
3 straight. I mean, first the Saints, then the Panthers, and now the Steelers. And it's just now they're going in the wrong direction. At first, it looked like they were taking the right direction as far as to finally on the cusp of a pretty good season, and it's just.
The Bengals are still holding on in there. They're 5-3. Steelers are 5-2-1. Though Bengals abysmal defense, fantastic offense.
It's also not on that. I mean, the Bengals, they do have a chance. I mean, next Sunday is proving ground for them. They're going against, the best offense in the league, and they're going against an emerging defense in the New Orleans Saints. So, I mean, at first it was like proving ground was to play against the LA Rams. Who can give them their first loss? It became the challenge. Now the challenge is who can beat the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati's going to be answering that challenge this Sunday.
The Saints are now on a 7-game win streak after a surprising 48-40 loss, opening season loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have taken a significant fall since then.
Well, I mean, they put in Jameis Winston. Then they want to put in Ryan Fitzpatrick back in. But, I mean, the Buccaneers defense, they face a pretty good Panthers team. And when the Panthers are trying to keep pace with the New Orleans Saints, the Panthers are not that much of a beatable team. They're not that beatable as a team. I mean, if you're looking at the Panthers, the thing that motivates them is they want to stay on the Saints' heels in the NFC South. And I saw that trend last season. It's like every time the Saints won, Panthers won. Every time Panthers won, Saints won. And it's like the Panthers just seem unstoppable when they have something motivating them, when they have that fire lit under them, when they are in the division race. And I'm interested to see how the Steelers, who have been looking impressive over the past few weeks, are going to stop the Panthers this Thursday.
Yeah. So, really it is, it is still anybody's game for several teams. Again, I think only the NFC West is the only division really decided at this point, with the Rams taking that almost by a landslide. I would say the Saints at 7-1, but like you just said, the Panthers are right there behind them at 6-2.
And the Falcons, they coming in from a bye week and they obliterated the Redskins out in D.C. I wouldn't count the Falcons out just yet. They're 3 games behind first place. There's still a lot of football left to be played. So, and the way the NFL's been going, anything can happen. So I wouldn't count anybody out unless you're like the Raiders or the Bills.
So what are your picks so far?
My picks?
As far as who do you think is going to make the field of 12?
In the playoffs? Well, in the NFC, of course, Rams, Saints. I'm also going to put the Panthers in there. We'll put the Vikings in there. I will also put the Packers in there. I feel the Packers will go on a winning streak. I'll probably put the Packers in there. Packers. They'll sell for a wild card, but I'll put them in there.
They need to start winning some games.
They got to start winning some games. But you got Aaron Rodgers out there.
And who do you say takes the NFC East division?
The East division, I would give it to the Redskins.
I'll
give the East to the Redskins.
I agree with you on the Redskins. I say the Saints and Rams. I would also agree with the Panthers. The second wild card, I don't know. I want to say Seattle is kind of in the fight for that. I don't want to say they're the favorite. Maybe the Eagles pull it together.
Well, it's a possibility. They're going against Dallas next weekend. They were on the bye, and so it gives them a chance to really go over some things in their game plan.
Yeah, the NFC wild card race is just an open stack of cards right now. So, outside the Panthers taking one of the 2 wild cards, I don't know. Atlanta does seem to be coming in strong, so.
And so Atlanta will be another team to watch out for. It's tough to tell right now. I don't see much separation as far as the playoff race is concerned on both sides of the pendulum.
Okay, so mid-season picks for the AFC.
Mid-season picks for AFC, of course, Chiefs, Patriots, Texans, Steelers. That's like my top 4 off top of my head right now.
And your 2 wild cards will be?
No, I just want to let y'all know that the teams I'm stating, it's not in any specific order. I'm just throwing teams out there because it's hard to tell. As far as my wild cards are concerned, it's like I say, it's tough to say. You also can't forget about the Chargers, who are 6-2 right now.
Right. So the Chargers are right there on the hills of the Chiefs, also, just like the Panthers are on the hills of the Saints. As much as the Chiefs are winning right now, the Chargers are right there, just one game back.
Yeah. So and Chargers is looking a lot better than we thought they would be. They would look, but like we said, it's so early to tell. We gotta wait until there's more separation. And the reason why I put the Texans in there too, I mean, they've won 6 straight. They're in my opinion, they're probably the hottest team right now in the AFC.
I would also throw Cincinnati in there at this point because, as far as I'm concerned, the Jaguars are probably out of it.
They're most likely going to be out of it. With the Texans, not only that, they also added Demaryius Thomas to their offense through the free agency, through the trade deadline.
Yeah. So it should be interesting to see how the playoffs do eventually shape up. Anybody could take it at. You never know who's going to come on and finish hot. Just every year there's someone who catches fire at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you see it every year. You see it all the time. You're going to have those few teams that are going to come out of nowhere and just go on a hot streak.
All right. Exciting season for both collegiate and professional football so far. I guess we'll wrap up this episode of Let's Talk Football right here. You can find us on Twitter at AI Sports 3 or on Facebook at AI Sports Network. Our personal website, aisportsnetwork.com, and we're on Apple iPod. I'm John Behrens.
And I'm Joshua Perkins.
Thank you for joining us. Tune in next week.
Signing out.
Let's talk football.